The chandelier above us glittered like 1,000 watching eyes, but none shone more coldly than the one who held the blade. My vision blurred as warm blood slid down my back, soaking the silk of my evening gown. He stood over me, not with regret, not with fear. Just a hollow calm that chilled my dying heart. "Liana," his voice was flat. "You weren't supposed to ask questions." My lips moved, but only a rasp came out. I couldn't form the word why. My mind screamed it, but my voice like my life was slipping. He crouched, brushed a strand of my hair from my face with hands that had once traced my skin with love. "You were perfect," he murmured, "but I have a mission, and you were only the cover." He continued, but somewhere in his eyes I saw a flicker of doubt and regret. He was looking at me as if he had no other choice. Nonetheless, I had been a shield, a front, and a tool. And when the mission was done, he discarded me like dust in the wind. Darkness claimed me then. My last thought wasn't of pain, but how could I have loved him so blindly? The smell of roses was too familiar. I blinked against the blinding sunlight streaming through lace curtains. The ceiling above me wasn't the dull hospital white I expected, but ivory plaster with gold accents. I sat up, my hands trembled. I knew this room. I had never forgotten it. This was the suite where I had spent the morning of my wedding. "Miss Liana?" "Your stylist is downstairs." I turned. It was Marie, my wedding planner's assistant. Her voice was too chipper, her smile too wide. My heartbeat stilled. The mirror didn't lie. My reflection showed no wound, no blood, no death, only soft makeup, curled hair, and the start of my wedding dress over a robe. My stomach lurched. "I'm dreaming." Marie laughed lightly. "If this is a dream, it's a glamorous one." I stumbled to my feet and yanked open the curtain. The city skyline glimmered with sunlight. Horns honked below. I heard the fountain outside the venue. The same one I had passed on the way to my doom. No, this wasn't a dream. I had died. I remembered the pain, the betrayal, the last look in his eyes. Now I was here. I was back. His name was Adrian Kai. On paper, he was perfect fluent in 5 languages, heir to foreign trade empire, elegant, enigmatic. In reality, he was a ghost. A phantom man sent by a neighboring nation to infiltrate mine, using me as the perfect entry point. My father was a powerful government figure. Through me, Adrian gained access to rooms most spies only dreamed of. And I had smiled. I loved like a fool. He had woven a net around my heart, played the role of dream husband, until the curtain fell and the knife found my back. But this time I would play him. I couldn't stop the wedding. It was too late, too sudden. Our families were already here. The guests, the press, the expectations. Calling it off now would raise suspicion, possibly risk lives. My life. I stood before the mirror in my wedding dress. Ivory silk, pearl-studded veil. My hands trembled as I adjusted the necklace around my throat. He knocked once, then entered. My breath caught. Adrian. He wore a navy suit with a dark rose boutonniere. That same cool confidence, the smile that could disarm armies. The lie that wore a man's face. "You look breathtaking," he said. I turned to him slowly. "So do you." He kissed my cheek, then held my hand a little too long. My skin crawled. I remembered that hand pressing the blade into my back. But I smiled. I let the warmth return. I kissed his cheek and whispered, "I'm so lucky to marry you." Because this time he was the one who'd regret it. Our first night together was at the same penthouse suite he had rented years ago. Back then, I had been nervous, starstruck, in love. Now, I was calculating. He poured wine. Red, rich, poisoned metaphorically, of course. I swirled it, watching him. "You're quiet tonight," he said, sitting beside me. I smiled. "Just taking everything in. It's perfect." He leaned in. His voice was low. "I mean to make this a life you'll never forget." Oh, I wouldn't forget it. Not even if I lived 100 lives. "Tell me," I murmured. "What made you fall in love with me?" He paused, just for a moment. then said smoothly, "You're light. You glow like no one I've ever met." My stomach twisted. He had said those same words the first time. Recycled lies. But I laughed softly, touching his jaw. "You always say the sweetest things." His eyes darkened. "Only for you." Liar. But I would let him say them. Let him think I was his again. Because I had a plan. Days blurred into weeks. Adrian returned to his diplomatic routines, meetings, calls, negotiations. I played the doting wife, attending charity events and ribbon cuttings, the picture of public grace, but every moment I watched. He hid his secrets well, but I had an advantage this time knowledge. I knew where he stored his encrypted briefcase. I knew which drawer held the burner phone. I knew the safe password. The patterns of his betrayals were burned into my memory. I didn't confront him. Not yet. Instead, I slipped a tracker into his car, installed software on his laptop. I learned to read between the lines of his messages. He was preparing for something big. The mission that would have ended in my death, the one I had died for in another life, was still unfolding. Only this time I would see it unravel. I needed help, but not just anyone. Someone outside the web of politics and power. Someone who knew me before Adrian, before the glamour. Elias Tan, we hadn't spoken in years. The boy next door turned cybersecurity analyst. Brilliant, blunt, loyal to a fault. I found him in a dim cafe off Main Street, his fingers dancing across a laptop. He looked up. "Liana?" "I need a favor," I said. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "Whatever it is, I'm in." I told him the truth. About Adrian, about my suspicions. Not about the rebirth. No one would believe that. Elias didn't ask how I knew. He just opened his laptop. Let's catch a spy. Adrian was careful, but not invincible. Elias traced a series of encrypted messages sent to a foreign embassy. The sender? A dummy account routed through Adrian's devices. We decrypted pieces phrases like Phase 2, Black Orchid, and parliamentary access confirmed. "What's Black Orchid?" Elias asked. I shook my head. It's new. He never mentioned that last time, which meant the timeline was shifting. My interference was already having an effect. But with every move I made, the risk grew. If Adrian caught even a hint of suspicion, the blade might find me again, this time permanently. So I smiled more, kissed him deeper, let him believe he still had me wrapped around his finger. I became the perfect wife, cooking his favorite meals, comforting him after long days, always making a point to hug him before he left and kiss him when he returned. I laughed at his dry jokes. I listened, really listened when he spoke. I kept the house warm, the lights low, the wine just how he liked it. Doing these things, I noticed he began to change. At first, it was small. He lingered a little longer at the table after dinner, watching me with eyes that didn't quite look like a spy's. He started bringing me small things, flowers from the market, my favorite pastries, a scarf in my favorite shade, even though I never told him the color. Still, I shouldn't let my guard down. I made my move. It started small, a misfiled document. A subtle lie about where I'd been. Forgotten message left open on his phone, mentioning the agency watching him. He grew tense. What's wrong? I asked one night, tracing his chest with my fingers. He smiled tightly. Just tired, and nudged closer to me. Liar. His routine changed. He started checking the windows. Avoided certain conversations. Left earlier. Came home later. Good. Let the cracks grow. Still, there were moments when he'd hold me longer than needed. When his eyes softened just for a second, and it confused me. Was he playing me? Or was something changing? No, I couldn't afford doubt. He was the enemy. My murderer. Even if his touch made my heart tremble, even if his voice made me forget for a moment, I couldn't forget the knife. We hosted a gala, the same one where, in my last life, he had met the foreign minister, the handoff that began the final phase of his mission. This time, I changed the guest list. I invited Elias, hidden in plain sight as a tech entrepreneur. I invited officials Adrian had avoided. I watched him the entire night. And then, something unexpected, a woman, dressed in crimson, striking, eyes sharp as daggers. She kissed Adrian's cheek like an old lover. "Who was that?" I asked. He smiled. "An old contact from Monaco. Harmless. Liar. She was his handler. I recognized her from the shadows of my first life. And now she was here. The final act was coming. Black Orchid. Elias said the next morning, isn't just a coding name, it's an operation. I froze. What kind? He turned the laptop to me. Destabilization. They want to crash the national grid, hack parliament records, create chaos before the upcoming treaty signing. I swallowed. And Adrian? He's the key. He has access codes. Through you? My breath caught. Of course, my father's clearance. The reason Adrian married me wasn't just love, it was leverage. But if I could give access, I could take it away. Let's burn him, I whispered. It happened on a quiet afternoon. The sky was unusually clear. I was trimming roses in the private courtyard behind our estate, a space Adrian and Sister remain untouched by politics. I found solace there. In my past life, this was where I had once daydreamed about our future children. Now I only thought about survival. The wind shifted. Something felt wrong. I straightened, setting down the shears. My eyes scanned the treetops, the hedges. The silence screamed louder than any noise. Then I saw him, a man in black, perched on the stone wall like a shadow given form. We locked eyes. I didn't scream. I ran. A sharp whistle cracked through the air. A bullet hit the edge of the stone bench, spraying shards that grazed my cheek. I ducked behind the fountain. My heart thundered in my chest. They sent someone. They were trying to kill me. And Adrian had to be part of it. Or worse, maybe he was supposed to watch. Footsteps. Fast. Silent. Getting closer. I clutched a broken piece of marble, ready to fight, to die again if I had to. Then a gunshot split the air, not aimed at me, but behind me. The assassin dropped like a puppet with its strings cut. I turned and saw Adrian. His chest rose and fell with ragged breath, gun smoking in his hand. His other hand trembled. I stared at him. You killed him. His jaw clenched. He was sent for you. By your people? I stammered. He took a breath and finally said, yes. Silence swelled between us like a storm cloud. I was supposed to let it happen, he said, voice hoarse. My knees buckled, but I stood tall. And yet you didn't, I said. He looked at me, haunted, because when I saw that rifle, I didn't see a mission. I saw you, and I knew I couldn't lose you. I stepped closer slowly. You saved me. He dropped the gun. I love you. I didn't say it back. It was obvious he fell in love with me because of my facade, but it might not be just a facade anymore. Then I touched his hand, let our fingers tangle, because at that moment, something irreversible had happened. The spy had chosen me over his country, and his country would never forgive him for it. That night, Adrian didn't sleep. Neither did I. He sat in the dark by the fireplace, staring into the flames like they held the answer to a question he couldn't ask aloud. I've broken protocol, he finally said. They'll think I'm compromised. You are, I whispered. By you. He added, then a ghost of a smile flickered and died. We packed what we could. Elias set up a false trail, one that painted Adrian as having been turned months ago. It was risky, but it bought us time. I won't let them touch you again, Adrian said, handing me a burner phone. If anything happens to me. I shut him up with a kiss, fierce, final. You chose me. You don't get to leave me. He looked at me like I was gravity itself. And just like that, we were no longer pretending. The next day, Elias decrypted it. A top-tier op named Fallpoint, scheduled to unfold at the International Unity Summit. The plan? Overload the national power grid. Plant chaos. Crash the vote on the Inter-Alliance Treaty. The chaos would shift global power balances. Adrian's role? He had the access, the location, the kill codes. We let them think you're following orders, I said. Then we get the mission from the inside. He nodded. But if they even suspect... They won't, Elias interrupted, sliding over a flash drive. I've rewritten your activity logs. Even Loyal just discreetly psychotic. Thanks, Adrian muttered. The warning came in red, literally. We returned home from a safe house to find the mirror in our bedroom scrawled in crimson lipstick. We need you. We can break you. Below it, a photo of me drinking coffee at a street cafe. Timestamp 2 hours ago. They're closing in, Adrian growled. I stared at the image, pulse pounding. Then we give them something to chase. We stage the end. A loud public argument. Screaming. A shattered wine glass in the lobby of a 5-star hotel. Then the headline. Diplomatic marriage scandal. Kai's wife secretly linked to opposition intel group. The story was a lie. One we crafted. But to the world and to his former handlers, I was now a liability. It worked. The next order Adrian received was cold and clear. Terminate the asset. Disappear. Report final confirmation. He showed it to me. What are you going to do? I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he walked to the balcony, lit the phone on fire, and let it drop 5 stories into the fountain below. The train station was old, hidden beneath layers of city design that no one cared to modernize. This was where the handoff was scheduled. Adrian was to deliver a microchip loaded with military-grade sabotage software. Only the chip was fake. Elias had gutted it, replaced the payload with a virus. One that would trace every connection back to the people who orchestrated Fall Point. Adrian waited on the platform, then she came. The woman in crimson, no disguise, no attempt at subtlety. Just that same cruel elegance. You've fallen hard, she said, voice silk-wrapped steel. I did what I had to, Adrian replied. Mission's done. She stepped closer. No, Kai, you're done. She pulled a blade. He was faster. They clashed. Brutal, silent. The color red sprayed across marble tiles. He won, but barely. I ran to him as he staggered out of the terminal, shirt soaked, eyes wild. You okay? I cried. Not even close. He rasped, then pulled me into his embrace and gently patted my head. We then vanished. A boat. A new name, a foreign shore. Adrian became a vineyard owner. I wrote novels under a pseudonym. Elias stayed in touch, sometimes appearing in person, always with that grin that said, I know everything, but I'm letting you have this. We never looked back. But sometimes Adrian stared out across the sea and whispered, they're still looking for us. I'd say, let them look. Because I wasn't afraid anymore. I had died once. I had loved blindly once, but now I was wide awake. Our house by the sea is small, bright, quiet. Adrian plants herbs. I paint in the mornings. Peace is a strange thing for people like us, but we're learning. One afternoon, a package arrives. No return address. Inside, a black queen chess piece. Adrian burns it without a word. I stand beside him, watching the plastic curl into ash. They're warning us, I say. He shrugs. Let them. I look at the fire. I was once the girl on the ballroom floor. Bleeding, dying, loving the wrong man. Now I am the woman who lived, the spy's bride. But no one's fool.